Welcome, seekers of the unknown, as we pull back the veil between the living and beyond. Unraveling questions that plague our minds, and oftentimes presenting the evidence that may prove them true. Let us take you on a journey where paranormal becomes normal, and where what is right behind you just might be echoes of the afterlife or something more. But fair warning, once you step into the supernatural with us, you might just stay haunted.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stay Haunted.
We're back.
Woo!
We're back.
Sorry, I'm a little excited because it's not work.
Right?
Not work.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Carmela and Todd, you guys did an investigation last weekend. What'd you do?
We did West Hill Manor again, which is 10 minutes from us. And we had some pretty cool experiences because the atmosphere was charged because there was thunderstorms rolling through, and we had some cool experiences. We got some EVPs. We had some, what else?
They said my name.
They said Carmela's name
So
through the
excited.
spirit box, and it was a creepy. I sent it to you, right, Chris? That Carmela.
Oh,
And then he's
I
like,
missed that.
Kind of
And
cool.
it
In
scared
a
me. I was
cool
like,
way.
yes, they said my name.
And
Rarely happens.
yeah, it was a cool experience. We had some really cool experiences. Just at lunchtime, I didn't get a chance to send it to you, but we were going up for the last section of the night. I was on the camera going up to the third floor. We think we hear a couple screams, which is associated with the property with Susanna Emlyn, who had the first breast cancer surgery, or she had one of the first breast cancer surgery cases in New Jersey. In her bedroom with no anesthesia. We think we had a couple more loud screams, which could potentially be her. So I'll send that to you, Chris, to hear.
load.
Yeah.
Imagine surgery without anesthesia, and then imagine a nipple surgery without anesthesia.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if they did that.
No.
Just lob it off.
A vasectomy without surgery, without
Oh,
anesthesia.
well, let's try it and see what happens. I don't know.
No.
Anything else memorable aside? Well, your name, that was the highlight, I know, for you, but anything else?
It just seemed like, well, they sold the property. So I think the spirits know. And it wasn't our normal spirits that we encounter there. There were some, but there were a lot of angry.
Yeah, it seemed
Not
like
angry. They were just upset, but different spirits that we didn't ever encounter there.
Yeah,
So I think that they must know that they're not getting rid of it, but
right.
building apartments on the land.
So hopefully there's a way of, we don't know the
Salvaging it
details, but
somehow.
hopefully it will.
Hopefully they could save it somehow.
Hopefully they can
but
save it somehow
It's
because
millions and millions of dollars.
it's a great location. So, but Carmela isn't exactly. No,
It
it's
is
definitely not.
It is not.
It isn't Todd's house.
Only
Nowhere
my-
else.
So, but yeah. So all in all, we had a good weekend. Sunday was a rainy morning to the start and cleared out, but basically it
We
was
were like
kind of review.
decluttering too. which
Yeah,
was
we were
weird.
decluttering, getting rid of stuff. It was the full moon. Crazy stuff happens during the full moon. We were sad because we didn't get to see the blood lunar eclipse full moon.
We didn't get to see
It's only overseas, so we were sad about that. But how was your weekend?
Well,
Good.
it was good. So everybody knows we moved to Ohio to be near Audra's family. So Audra gets to spend a lot of time with her mom,
Lots of time with mommy.
which is the whole purpose of us moving here. The month of September, I'm traveling a ton for work. So I was gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, home late Friday night.
Yeah.
So we got to spend the day together on Saturday because her family's like, Chris is home, spend the day together. So we went out and ran some errands, had a late lunch. And then, guys, I have the best wife in the world. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I know a bunch of people are going to argue with you, but this woman can quote Avengers movies.
Nice.
This woman sits there and watches Tigers games with me, baseball, for those of you that aren't sports fans.
Mhm.
And this woman sat with me Saturday night after we ran errands and watched the Ohio State dominate
Yeah.
Grambling University. And then she watched me. She sat there and watched Nebraska, which is my home state, kick the shit out of Akron.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know, it was one of those schools that you don't hear a whole lot about, so it's hard to pronounce.
Right.
This is the best woman on the planet. And then she sits down there today while I'm working and she watches her girly stuff. So
Get out of the way.
she watches her girly stuff when I'm not in the room, but when I'm in the room, she sits there and watches the stuff, asks me to explain football to her, and then we can sit there and watch Jason Statham movies and she thinks they're great. We can watch Avengers movies and she quotes them. She's just
She's well-rounded.
she's well-rounded.
Well-rounded.
Now, when it comes to romanticism, I fall more to the female side than she does.
Oh,
But that's okay. We balance out.
yeah, that's fine.
So that's what we did. And then Sunday we spent time with family.
Yeah, went over and spent time. My parents
We-
grilled chicken and
grilled chicken.
invited us over. So
And we had sweet corn from one of the local farms. It was delicious.
Oh yeah, I froze corn for the winter.
Yep.
Nice.
And
And
we were
then-
just in Ohio.
Yeah, welcome to Ohio. And then today I made homemade chicken noodle soup, and then I took all my veggie scraps that I've had in the freezer, and then I made a vegetable stock for
Yes.
whenever.
Nice.
Nice.
You know,
And
So- So for those of you watching, Audra isn't working yet.
not yet.
So she's not normally this domestic. She is my domestic goddess, but she's not normally this.
no,
Fine.
you're not getting her enough credit. I believe she can multitask and
She can, but when you work, you don't have time.
Right. But it's the move to Ohio was good.
It
was good.
So it was
Carmela
a
made
decision.
Carmela, you made what?
Banana bread.
Banana bread with raisins, cupcakes.
Yummy.
Carbonara, garlic
Oh yeah, we had
bread.
good chicken.
Chicken carbonara. Oh my goodness, that the Italian is me is going crazy right now.
Yeah, we did.
And I had this cheese, like Locatelli cheese.
She's
and,
like, can you grade this for me?
oh, that was like a cup and a
A
half.
cup and a
I
half.
got
I'm
rid
like-
of that. Robbie had the conversation. Now, Cheyenne is on the phone, and he's like, "Mom, can you tell her we can't get that stuff out of a jar? Like she has the plastic. Who is it?
Kraft Parmesan.
Yeah, and here we are, like grating it with the real
Right.
cheese, and he's like, "Cheyenne, we will never have this in our house.
No,
Your parents can no longer have this."
don't you dare buy that.
That's right.
Yeah, no,
And I couldn't argue. I was like, "Okay." She's like, "Do I really need it?" I'm like, "Yeah, kind of. I don't want to be mean, but yeah, get the real stuff."
But
Eat
it's real awesome. We will eventually get to the cemetery investigation we did with Ron Lourdes, and I'll eventually review that. It won't be in the month of September, y'all,
Ooh.
because I am literally gone all but like 4 days over the next 3 weeks. I'm
And then
home for like 3-4 days
Yeah,
in
like
the next 2 weeks.
yeah.
And then we go overseas.
And then you guys, well, I'm gone that whole week. You guys are overseas too. So good thing Audra's close to family or she'd be stuck in a house.
That's,
Yep.
that sounds lovely.
All right, let's get to
Oh, I
this.
know.
Let's get to this great.
The real reason you're all
As
here.
much as we love you guys.
Nobody gives a shit what we do.
Move on.
Guys, you asked for her to come back for part two. The part do.
Dos.
Those.
Do sounds better though. It's funnier.
Okay.
You guys asked for Elizabeth Elenor, the natural success coach and intuitive activator. Okay. Well, here she is. Elizabeth is a natural success coach and intuitive activator, over 28 years of experience in the field of intuitive development. Guys, once again, back from tomorrow and back from Australia. Everybody say hello to Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth.
Ooh, Elizabeth,
Hey guys,
welcome
good to
back.
be back.
Good to have ya.
Who says stay haunted can't give you time travel?
That's right.
Yeah, that's
There
right.
we are.
We
See you
asked,
tomorrow.
right? We asked the burning question. Do you know the lottery numbers, the winning
I know.
numbers?
Right.
We had a major discussion about it actually. I definitely would love to know the numbers, and especially We don't have lotto with $1 billion over here. It's millions, but yeah, definitely not billions. That's crazy.
Yeah, 1.87 billion is the one they just gave away.
$1 billion.
I think the highest was 2.8
It was like two
Oh,
something.
did it really go that high before?
in 2022.
Yeah,
something
2.8
like that.
in 2022, and only one person won it.
Oh,
That
Oh,
person
wow.
had to like hightail it out of
Yep.
the U.S.
what did I say? You move away and don't come back.
Move away. Yep.
And as the audience can tell, it wasn't Todd Carmela, it wasn't Chris and Audra,
Wasn't us.
or this would be a completely different type of show.
Oh yeah.
You would say stay haunted and no one there.
Oh, we'd be here, but we'd be a little bit snickered right now.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth, last time we introduced you, we introduced what you did, we talked about some of your experiences that drew you into what you do. This time we want to talk about, you touched base on your different definitions of portal, vibrations, and energy. And then we want to get into a little bit about the type of sessions that you do. And we might even want to touch a little bit on some of the sessions that you did with Carmela. But prior to us doing that, give us just a brief introduction of yourself again, just in case there's anybody in the audience that hasn't been here before, that wasn't here for the first show.
Sure. So, hi. What do I do? This is a really interesting question, isn't it? Because I call myself an intuitive activator. I'm a conscious creator. I founded the Ascendance Code. And what all that means is really what I do is support people to truly let go of the weight of the past, the spiritual weight, the conditioning, the beliefs, the definitions, all the things that hold us in like chaos, like the obstacle game that goes on within, that is the script of who we believe we are. And I support people to navigate back to what their soul truly came here to experience, to let go of all of that weight and to feel spiritually light, and be completely guided by their internal guidance system and live, that amazing experience of life that we can have when we're just in joy and fun and all of those beautiful things. So, yeah, I suppose conscious creator, that's what I am.
Okay. So part of the promo, right, and Chris mentioned it, was the portals. And so kind of what's your interpretation? So like, I know we have a definition in our kind of
Realm.
Right, yeah.
realm of paranormal investigation, what we define as a portal. But you, in your line of, work, define it potentially a little bit different than what we might, some people in the paranormal community when they're doing investigations. So, I know one of the promo that I put out was, you're drawn toward, might be the portals that are drawing you a certain way, and it might be come in the form of tears, laughter, love. So could you just kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Because, we think of portals as moving from one dimension into another, right? That's the main sort of portal that people understand and recognize. However, there are so many, like portal just means opening, really, when you think about it. So when we are opening up to a new experience, we don't necessarily see it, but there's this opening, there's this energetic shift as we open up to a new belief, a new or letting go of an old belief, letting go of old frequencies, old belief systems, old regrets, grievances, all of those things. And so we can open up to, that process of letting go of that, again, that weight. I call them distortions in the field. So when we've got something, you think of a radio station, and the radio station's right on the right, when it was the old dialing system. And, you know, you can hear it crystal clear and everything's coming through exactly the way it should. But when we're in a distortion, you can hear that white noise, right? It's not quite on track. And so those distortions are in our radio frequency that we call our, you know, auric field, our human being. And so those distortions, when you're having, you know, a mystical experience or moving into a spiritual growth, you can open different portals that will help those distortions to release, to clear, and then open up to that next level of your being. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Sometimes I can get a little bit, you know, complicated.
No, it makes absolute sense, because I'll give you an example, because Audra and I are both very sensitive. I have been since I was a child, always opened up to it. There are certain locations that we go to where I can clearly hear somebody speaking to me, somebody trying to communicate. Sometimes I can see them. Sometimes I know where they're at. I don't necessarily see them with my physical eye. But at the same time, there's also times where there's a distortion. And sometimes it's some of the equipment that we use. So I don't carry equipment when we investigate. I investigate with my mind's eye. I totally believe, and people have asked me, how do you see stuff? And I see it's kind of like sonar from a bat. It's the vibration, it's the repeat signal coming back to me is what I pick up. And sometimes it's clear and sometimes it's not, which is almost the same kind of explanation that you're saying. It's just, it's the definition brought to you by different mindsets, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm the same. I might have a really quick image, but generally it's a knowing, you know, like you walk in and it's like, there's something in here, you know, and as soon as you get that, now you can get more information. You can get, you know, once you've acknowledged, then you ask the questions, you know, or male, female, who is it, what's going on, you know, and you start getting the information.
Yep.
But I got to tell you, that's crazy hearing the screaming that you were just experiencing.
And I was just getting ready to kind of talk about an experience that I thought of or had when we were in Eliza Gurney's study on the first floor at the West Hill Mansion. And I'm sitting here, Carmela was to my right. Friends of ours that we investigate with, Lori and Matt, were to my immediate left. And then I'm sitting there, and then Beth, who is a friend of ours, Beth was there, Mike was there, because they are point of contacts for the location. And Beth was across from me, and I'm just sitting there, and I had like a freaking deja vu freaking moment. And I'm like, this is weird. I've never had, like, I've had deja vus before, but I had like a deja vu moment in that setting, in that period, in that situation. And I'm thinking to myself, now I'm trying to go back. Did I have it in a dream, or when I was sleeping? That kind of.
You said that. I think.
And
you
I want to
said,
say,
I feel like I had
yeah,
a dream, but I feel like it's deja vu.
So it was like deja vu, but I want to say like I had that scenario, and we were at some point investigating. It was just it was a strange feeling. So
you know, sometimes it's also that, like, where we're in consciousness at the moment, you know, the veils are slowly dissolving, right? And so sometimes it's that you actually got it not, you know, just before you actually were in the room as well. Like, you've walked in, you're hearing, you're experiencing it from an unconscious perspective. And then you walk in, and that's why it's like, there's deja vu here, because you've already picked the information up before, maybe even, you know, days before or whatever. So, yeah.
Right. Look, it's coming to you.
you see, I'm starting to open up a little bit. I'm getting a little.
Yeah.
I'm less of a brick than what I used to be. I'm starting to become more like a sponge, try to absorb a little bit more.
Well, it's and correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth, from your point of view, it's more of a listening. It's more about listening, hearing, and seeing from an internal source. It's not an external source. Like we've driven to private investigations that we've done in Phoenix, and a mile and a half away, I've looked at her and go, they know we're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, absolutely, that's so true. And you've got to be open to the fact that we're all connected, right? Like there's got to be a belief or an understanding that we're not separate, that we're actually living in this web, that, this quantum field that we're all in. And so therefore, that's when you can hear, you can see, and you can feel. But if you don't have that, that's when the brick comes, right? Todd, and it can be from beliefs that you don't even know you've got because they're from way back in your childhood or whatever, you've been conditioned not to do it, or you've closed down because, you're a kid. And, I think I shared when I was in the last session, when I was younger, my dad came into the house after he had died, and it scared the crap out of me. I knew it was my dad, I could feel it, all of those things, but I'd never had that experience before. And so my whole system went into panic because it was new, it was foreign, and you hear all the, haunted stories and, all of those things. And so you have those experiences, and then your nervous system's not ready to have the experience again when you think you are ready.
Right. So
and we've been conditioned. Sorry, Todd. We've been conditioned and trained for a physical experience. Yeah. If it's not physically in front of us, if we haven't physically met those persons before, if we haven't physically shaken their hand, then we don't know those people. But you actually do. If there's a connection and the consciousness is there prior to making that physical connection, the world is not, and we know that in the paranormal field, the world is not just physical. The world exists in energy, it exists in thought, it exists in consciousness. And once we open our minds to that, then meeting somebody new is not necessarily meeting somebody new.
No, absolutely.
Now, another experience, and this was right at the end of the night. So as we're leaving, we always say goodbye. Thank you for communicating with us. Stay here, blah, blah, blah.
You don't fit.
Little bit of house cleaning.
And now that I'm just I'm kind of ready to ask this question, but also thinking about it a little bit more, I have found it's when and I don't know if this is just a part of consciousness that is more open when I'm not focused on it. When we're leaving, we hear, and we heard a lot of little kids' voices that night.
We did.
We said goodbye, and I heard goodbye, little kid's voice, audible, and it was like, So, but while we're talking to everybody and we're leaving, so it's that I'm not focused on listening to it, but then it comes through. So I don't know if that's because of
it was me.
Because you're conditioned to hearing it from the physical environment, and that's usually not where it comes from.
Right.
And we've all got those senses, right? Like what is it? Clairaudient, clairsentient, cognizance, all those things. It's been open, and that's another portal. Talking about portals, that's another portal, Todd, is, the fact that you heard it. Now you've got the ability to accept that, acknowledge it, and then that will most probably keep going because you've opened that portal to the clairaudient, right? So now you'll be able to hear, if you accept it and ask for it and give it, them permission to communicate in that way.
Now, can I tell you, you're so weird. Is there something wrong with you? I don't believe anything you're saying. Like,
You damn normal people are so weird.
Right? What's happening? What's happening here?
Touche.
This is a perfect statement right here.
Yes, absolutely. Your unconscious is aware of more than you.
Right, and that's what it is. It's more my unconscious, not my conscious, right? It was more.
And to add to that statement, your unconscious sometimes
No,
well,
it's
we call it
more.
an unconscious, but it's not unconscious. But your subconscious
Right.
is actually more aware most
Right.
times
Mhm.
than what I call your reality consciousness, right?
Oh,
Because your reality
absolutely.
consciousness, if it's not in front of you, it's not there.
Not
right?
real.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, what about the
our
weird experience?
unconscious and subconscious is aware of every single event, every single thought, every single memory, every single thing that you hear. I think I don't remember the numbers, but it's millions and millions of things that we are taking in the moment
Right.
from our unconscious, but only a small percentage that our conscious can or wants to take in, and that is according to our conditioning, our culture, our society, all of those things. Because if we took everything in, our head would explode, right? Like,
Right.
well, at this level of how many what our DNA has been conditioned to experience. I watched, Tim and I the other night watched Lucy again. Have you guys seen the movie Lucy?
No, I know which one you're talking about, but
So worth watching because
Oh, right. I know she gets
Johan,
Yeah.
right, but then she kind of
Scarlett Johansson, right?
yeah, that's the name, yeah.
Yeah.
And she takes this. I won't spoil
No
the
spoilers.
story, but she basically gets full function of her brain, of her neural pathways, and the information in there is quite accurate, and the things that she is saying is quite accurate. Like we only have a small amount of information that our consciousness can handle, but when we open ourselves to all aspects, then our brain will start inputting or expanding and being able to see. That's when we'll move into those dimensions where we actually will see the ghosts or the beings that are in other dimensions, that we'll recognize that we're in a physical body, but they just have dropped this shell and moved on to the next one.
Right.
Right.
Well, and you talk about physical body. That's where we're conditioned by science that if it's not our five senses, right? The touch, the smell, the hearing, the seeing, the taste. If it's not connected to those five senses, it doesn't exist. Well, not true.
Yeah.
Because those are limited to five. Yeah. When your subconscious is actually limited, is unlimited. Yeah, it's unlimited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And our
sixth dimension, as they say.
So would you agree, Chris and Audra, Ron and Lourdes, I know Ron in his presentation sometimes when he's talking about like the whole thing with the analytic idealism and, Bernard Kastrup, the philosopher that he, is an ambassador for, he that's one thing. He's like, our senses, like, it's like the dashboard on the airplane, the dashboard of a plane is like how we see things, but it's not consciousness. Right. And he talks about like it's basically a filter, because just like you said, our heads would explode. It's right.
Well, and it's relation to it's all connected to science. We get the physicalism and the materialism, but the physicalism and the materialism has a limit. It eventually reaches a limit where you can't explain past that limit, but consciousness and subconsciousness reaches past those limits, which is unexplainable. And that's where analytic idealism comes in. So, yeah.
And we can actually train ourselves and our physical body to start taking in more capacity as well, right? Like the more we support our system to feel safe in that, the more that, our nervous system will start to rewire to holding more capacity. And that's where we're going, right? We're going into that place of being able to hold the information and store the information within our self so that we can open up to these higher dimensions. Yeah.
Right.
Where did he come from?
Where did he come?
Jacobetti.
Jacobetti. You know we love you guys.
I know.
So Elizabeth,
Best.
you haven't had the pleasure of meeting Ron and Lourdes. Ron Iacobetti, they talk about analytic idealism. They use the
One collective consciousness.
one collective consciousness, and Ron is just this encyclopedia of information.
Yeah.
Just great friends, great people, just true hearts. You would
Yeah.
enjoy. Yeah. So
we know.
Ron is a fantastic dude, but we're here for Elizabeth, Ron. So Elizabeth, can you give more details about the type of sessions that you do, whether it's male or female, the in-depth stuff that you go through with people when you're doing those sessions?
It's really interesting because, I've learned so many things over the years. I think I was sharing last time when I spiritually woke up, I found myself in a group doing past life regression for like 7 years. And then each time I learn something and you evolve and you grow and you take it on and you meld that information as you go along, right? And it becomes more your sort of style or your fingerprint, the way you work with things. And so I've learned natural success, alchemy, I've learned recoding, I've learned all these things. And yet when someone's in front of me, male or female, I listen to their story. So I'm listening to their story. And what I'm doing is I'm just completely tuned in to what they're saying, what I'm experiencing. So my system, I suppose you could say I'm an empath, right? An intuitive empath. My system opens up and I start experiencing what they're experiencing. So I'm like a mirror to the other. Last time I was on, I know Carmela had a little bit of a challenge, right? And she came back and I just felt it straight away in the throat chakra, right? So I tune in and pick up where there's things that are discord or out of balance, and I can pick that, and then we either delve into it to find out where the source is because that's what's required, or we just clear it because sometimes it needs to be addressed and sometimes it needs to just clear. And so in saying that, it's not just what's going on for the person, their beliefs, their emotions, their childhood, their, bloodline, all that sort of stuff. Sometimes it's entities. Sometimes it's, beings from other planets. Sometimes there's, I've had some crazy experiences. I had an experience with a woman just recently, and she had a really wild journey, including finding her ex-husband who had taken his own life, and she found him. And there was a whole heap of stuff that was going on. She had, she'd had a car crash and she had a lot of trauma going on in her body. But when we actually went in, so me as physical Elizabeth is expecting that trauma to come up, like you have an expectation when you get on the call. But what actually was happening was she had a spirit guide that was looking at her holding a sword. And it was like she was, this spirit guide was protecting her from herself.
Oh.
And we actually just did some processes, and the spirit guide turned around and ended up looking out and supporting her to feel protected from the world, and being there to guide her when she just needed to be intuitively aware and discerning and all of those things. And so sometimes it can be very symbolic and other times it can be very practical. So I feel like the sort of work that I do goes everything from addictions all the way to sabotage beliefs, and then these mystical experience where we go, what's going on here? Like let's clear an entity out of somebody's house, or there's a whole heap of stuff that I do. It's quite broad.
So question for you: do you believe that everybody has a spirit guide? And a second portion of that question is do you believe everybody's connected to it?
I do believe everyone's got a spirit guide, but I don't believe everyone's connected to it. And I'm a little bit weird when it comes to the spiritual. I'm not in. I think I shared this before. I'm not into the woo-woo. I really, like the surface level stuff. I've got people in this industry that I know that, like they talk to their guides, and, they everything goes through the interpretation of what the guide thinks. And to me, it's like you're giving your power away to something outside of yourself. Because for me, I'm very practical. I don't really talk to my guides. I know I've got them, but I don't really talk to them. I go directly to source.
I think the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. I think I spoke about that before. Yeah.
Yep.
So do you want to do the same? Sorry, Doug, go.
No, I was just going to put up. So Raul from Tower Contact, maybe he was asking the question, how would you go about contacting a spirit guide? Is that something that someone would kind of just focus on? I don't know if but kind of trying to get in tune with themselves, I would imagine, to some degree.
Yeah. The very first part of anything is having the intention. So intention is extremely powerful. As soon as you have the intention and you're open to the experience, you're asking how, so you're asking me, but I want to ask you to ask yourself, how do I contact my spirit guides? So now you're asking your higher self. So there's like a flurry of stuff that happens in the spiritual realms that go, I'm super excited. They want to talk to us, right, and communicate. And so as soon as you ask, the information will start coming through, right? And the information comes through in weird and wacky ways. Sometimes it's triple numbers, sometimes it's radio, a book. I've shared some of that in the last session that we had. So you've got to be open to the communication, not just being how we think it's going to be, like, a voice or, someone standing next to you, right, and you're seeing them, you have to be open to exploring all the different ways that the communication will come through. Some people get feathers, like there's all these different symbols and ways. The other way that is a little bit more what you might be looking for is to do a meditation where you're really tuning into yourself. You're letting go of all of the distractions, all the noise in the mind, all of those things, asking the question first. And then so you start with a question in mind, you release all the information, so through a meditation, and then you ask to have contact with your guides and ask the question, and then start like automatic writing. Just start writing whatever comes to you. And the more you do that, the more you practice that, the clearer that information and contact will be.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody. So I have a spirit guide that sometimes shows up as a wolf, sometimes shows up as a man. I haven't identified who the man is yet. I know it's somebody that is closely related to me, but I don't reach out to my spirit guide. My spirit guide shows up when the energy is more than I can handle.
Right. When needed.
When needed.
Yeah. And that would be some sort of contract that you guys made prior to you coming down, I'd say.
Huh. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That one.
There's a, hey, this is going to be a bit tough. So when I'm finding it stressful and this happens, come in and support me. And yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wolfman Jack, maybe.
Wolfman Jack. Well, it's interesting because only recently, when we've and I hate to take the show away from Elizabeth, but only recently has he been showing up in a physical form like a male. Most of my life since I was a child, it would show up as a wolf. I actually caught a picture of him in Tombstone at one of the investigations that we were doing. There was a really heavy night in Wat Tarbells where we were getting a shit ton of activity, and some of the activity was leaned towards the negative. And I was picking that up, and I actually snapped a photo because I felt like it was behind me. I snapped a photo and caught the wolf.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, which is really cool. And then recently, when we deep dived heavy into working with other groups and doing private investigations in North Carolina, did it start showing up as a man? And here's the weird difference. When it's a wolf, it maintains a distance from me, but it lets me know that the energy is heavy, and it's more of a protective role.
I was just gonna say more protective.
When the energy gets way too heavy, it shows up as a man standing behind me.
And have you seen the man?
I have seen him. I can't make out his face.
Okay. Can you describe him? Like, do you know?
He's wearing almost like a pair of blue jeans with like a pair of work boots and like a what's the guy from PBS with the sweater vest?
Oh, Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers?
He has like a Mr. Rogers sweater vest. He has parted to the side, but I can't make out his face. But I do know that he is some form of relationship to me.
Thinking a distant uncle. That's all that kind of like popped into my head. So
and I have an Uncle Zeke that passed away not too long ago, and when we were at his funeral, everybody was crying, and I was sitting there with my father, and everybody was distraught because Zeke was just the best guy on 2 feet. He was one of the best men on 2 feet. And during the ceremony, I actually heard in my head, go up there and pick my nose. You guys laugh, but it's exactly something.
Right, that's how he was.
Yeah, it's exactly something Uncle Zeke would have said to break the tension that he's gone.
Yeah.
And I started laughing, and my dad smacked me and goes, "What are you laughing at?"
You're not going to believe me, but
Right. So there's a portion of me that believes it's Zeke, but at the same time, he never completely shows his face. But the wolf was there before Zeke passed. So I'm not so sure if it's him or not. So
yeah, it's interesting because for some reason I feel like there's a Native American link there.
Wow.
Right.
I am 1/4 Cherokee Indian.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. And the sometimes they won't show their face because you know, like a couple of reasons. One, you might not be ready. But two, they may not show their face because then you're identifying with the part of them that used to be human.
Good point.
Yeah. And so now you're going to define them in their limitation instead of
their ability.
Their ability now that, so faceless can be to support you to still have that curiosity and open, expanded, awareness and, like be open to more than just that small definition that we would naturally do because we're human, right?
So here's a good question for you. Is their consciousness limited to thinking that, not knowing that I'm open to receiving more?
Yeah. We have all these little parts to ourselves. We think that we're just one being, right? But we've got all these little, particles that have got little parts. When you think about it, each individual particle has its own consciousness. Mm-hmm. So you think about, like, just as an example, we would all be very different with our parents or, our siblings than we are with each other right here on here. Like we hold different identities that sort of come out at different times. And so one part is called contrasting. It's called contrasting belief systems, like, and you have these limitations within you. Before I met Tim, I went on a dating app and met this guy, and he was amazing and loved, thought he was highly intelligent. We got on really well and all the things. And as we started dating, I noticed that there was a few little things that would bump, just this little bump, right? Like he treated me like he'd ring me up on the phone and have this beautiful sort of radio voice, and I was at his house and someone answered the phone, and he answered the phone and spoke exactly the same to somebody else. And I had this moment, I thought he only spoke to me like that, and just these little tiny things, like I could go into them, right? But they were just these moments. And I let it all sort of take on its thing, and I had to decipher what was happening and let it all sort of settle of what was going on for me. And I finally came to this realization that because he had this thing that he wanted to love all women.
Oh,
yeah, right, because he was here to support and heal all these women, right? And I knew that he was faithful and all that sort of stuff. It was just this concept that he had. And so I questioned him about it. And when I questioned him, he jumped back in with this, but you're a woman of light. You should, I should be allowed to love all women, And he got me for a moment, because I had this moment of, I am a spiritual woman, and he should be able to love whoever he wants. And I sort of backed off and spent some time thinking about it, because I realized that there was two contrasting beliefs in me. There was one that he should love whoever he wants to, and all the peace, love among beings and all that sort of stuff. But then there was this other part that was extremely traditional, where I wanted to be his woman, he was my man, and that was it. But I had to look at which one was mine and which one I'd actually been conditioned by society and my childhood and all the things. And so being who I am, I can do that quite quickly. And I went back to him and I said, the traditional one's me. Sorry. But
well, it depends on his definition of love every woman. Is it love every woman in a physical form or in a conscious form? Because
it was
happening, brother.
Right. Yeah, that's right. But he wasn't sleeping with anyone else, but he definitely was spreading himself very thin. And like he'd written me a poem, or he'd written other women poems while he was with me, and like there was no singularity. Yeah. And so it took me a moment to go, I have these two conflicting beliefs. And you would think, being a spiritual woman, it would have been the spiritual one that came out strongest. But actually, when I looked at what I wanted to be someone's woman. and it was a beautiful experience, because as soon as I had that experience and I declared that that's not what I wanted and said goodbye to him, I think it was a couple of months later, I met Tim, who's the most loyal, traditional, I'm his woman. He doesn't look at anyone. He loves me dearly, all those things, and if I hadn't cleaned that vibration up, then I would not have gone to the beach at that, had that, which I shared last time I was here, right? That beautiful moment of just the two of us on the beach. It was a fairy tale movie scene. That would not have happened if I still had that vibration where I wasn't sure.
So do you think all of us being a part of a consciousness that connect, do you think there's some of us that are closer to a consciousness that allows us to connect to that loyalty portion that we look for on the physical side, on the side outside of the consciousness that you were looking for that connection? Do you think that connection, because of the consciousness being a closer consciousness, makes a difference?
That's a really interesting question, right? Because is it that we're connected to the consciousness of loyalty, which is almost in the, the reptilian brain, survival, there's this long past evolution of us needing to be loyal for survival when you look back into the, way back. And then you look at the children that are coming into the world at the moment that have moved into a new level of consciousness and a new concept of what loyalty is. And so it really depends on where we are in our age and our generational history in this time and space, as consciousness in itself is growing and expanding into new dimensions of unity consciousness, right? Because we're sort of losing a little bit of that reptilian, which has been thousands of years in our in our brain, and that is slowly shrinking more and more, I suppose. I don't know physically what's going on with it, but there definitely seems to be a different level of consciousness now when it comes to loyalty, because you look at the kids these days, regardless of the fact that we're in a different concept with the internet and all the AI and all that sort of stuff. Kids these days are loyal to themselves beyond everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's it.
So, Elizabeth is saying y'all selfish, is what she said.
But it's that's a big concept to talk about, isn't it, Chris? Because that's bringing in evolution, it's bringing expansion, it's bringing in a whole heap of stuff.
Well, it's and I hate to use the word mental, but mental in lieu of consciousness. In today's society, we're more of a physical disconnect than we are of a mental disconnect,
right?
Which is a consciousness, right? So you see these little TikTok videos that come out that say, "Come back to the 80s," right? Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Come back to the 80s. We went outside. It was about being together.
Yeah.
And today it's not. I mean, for Christ's sakes, our kids are 28, 29 years old, and one of my son's girlfriends in high school, not one of my girlfriends.
You have a girlfriend?
Many yeah, because women want a middle-aged, fat, tattooed guy, right?
Never say never.
But
I got one of them. Oh.
One of my sons, with his girlfriend in high school, he asked her out via text.
Yeah.
Where
I got a divorce via text.
Yeah, she got a divorce via text. To where when we grew up, it was more of an outdoor social mental connection that mental/conscious connection than it is today.
It may collapse.
Yeah. It's there's a whole different and whether you say it's right or wrong or good or bad or whatever, it's what's happening.
I don't want to cut off, but our computer's doing some funky stuff again. So if we disappear, it crashed again on us.
Don't touch anything.
I'm not touching anything.
Don't touch anything.
Real fast, post to Lourdes. I want to say hello to Lourdes. She had a good point about the whole Cherokee kind of ancestor and how
where'd it go?
Yeah, as soon as you said it, I could feel that. I thought it was his. Yeah. If you're all collective consciousness, that's
and to reflect back on that comment, it's very interesting that you say that, because all my brothers and sisters are blonde-haired, blue-eyed from both my parents. So my true, not half brothers, not half, because my father was married twice before my mother, or he wasn't married twice, but you know how all that goes. But the funny thing is my brothers and sisters that were siblings of mine that are true, my father, my mother, they're blonde-haired, blue-eyed. I'm black-haired, brown-eyed, which comes to the the Cherokee
Cherokee.
heritage. I was trying to say Cherokee heritage. It's y'all, you got it.
It's a new thing. It's the heritage.
And the funny thing is my dad's mother, who was her mother that was half or a quarter. She was half Cherokee.
Mm-hmm.
She used to call me the True Blood because my true brothers and sisters, I was the only one that came out looking like the Cherokee heritage. And it's interesting that you say that because I'm more connected with that heritage than my brothers and sisters are. And I have a much more spiritual belief that aligns with the Cherokee ancestry than they do.
Right.
Like my brother, he's Catholic because his wife is Catholic. My sister doesn't go to church, but she's very spiritual. Mine is more earth grounded.
Yeah.
Which so when you mention that, it's very interesting. Yeah.
And I just want to point something out because this is what intuition's all about, right? And especially when you're first starting out, you go into this space of not believing in yourself. And if you know, even after doing this for 28 years, there's moments where you don't, like there's this little moment of self-doubt, right? Because if you look back at what we were talking about, at one stage you were talking about your Italian heritage because it was pastor spoken about, right? So there was all these, and then you were talking about your uncle and the way he looked. There was all this stuff to counterbalance what, like to say different to what I picked up straight away. And so I nearly didn't say anything, but then it, you know, like this is what intuition's all about. You pick something up, it comes through you, you just speak it.
Spit it out.
Because, it's the truth. It's the second, the microseconds afterwards that you have those moments of self-doubt. That's the unconscious that goes into all of the stuff from your childhood, all those memories, events, all the thousands of inputted information that we were talking about before, that will give you all the reasons why you were wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
he does that a lot.
Yeah. It's just so. I'll tell you a story. When I first was going through all of this stuff, I was a massage therapist, and I went to this woman's house, and she was massaging at people's houses, and she had rescheduled because someone had died in the family and there was a funeral, right? And so I went to her house, we're in the lounge room, and the whole time there's this old guy, tall, thin, with a hat on, hassling me to say that she, tell her that I'm here. Oh. And I'm like, didn't believe in it and all the things. And I'm like, nah. And anyway, finished the whole massage. I'm cleaning up. I'm putting my stuff away. And he's just like, I know that if I don't say anything, he's going to take me all the way home, right? It's just taking me all the way home. So finally, and I thought, like in my head, I'm going, well, I know that she's just been to a funeral, right? So, like this is why it's happening and all the logical things.
Right.
So I finally said to her, I said, do you mind if I ask who passed away? And she said, oh, yeah, it was my father. And I said, what does your father look like? And she said, blah, blah, blah. And she showed me this photo. And here's this short, fat, plump sort of guy, completely different. And so I, roll my eyes, Elizabeth, you're, making things up, all the things. Anyway, she saw me and she said, why do you ask? And I said, oh, well, and I told her, I said, there's this tall guy and he's just been hassling me. And she just looked at me. She walked must have gone into a bedroom or something and came out and she said, is this him? And here's this guy right there in the photo. And I said, yeah, that's him. And she started crying. She said, that's my uncle. We were really, really close and he died 6 months ago. And she said, I could feel him at the funeral with me. So really it's about just listening and acting and just saying what, even if you're wrong, just say it, yes.
So Carmela's had a couple of experiences with patients, right? And I don't know if we
the
mentioned
most recent one with the girls I go to lunch with, girls I used to work with. Her mom just
right.
passed away, and I'm sitting there and I'm doing this. I'm looking around and I'm looking around. I'm like, holy crap! Like this, I didn't see anything. I just heard, tell her, tell her, tell her. So I looked at Lynn and I started to cry. Shocking. I started to cry and I'm like, her mom had just passed away. I said, your mom knew that you loved her. You didn't say it, but she knew you were thinking it the whole time, and she heard everything you said. And I went on, and then I started crying, and she just looked at me. She goes, how did you know that? I said, she wouldn't leave me alone. And she's like, I could tell by your eyes, because they were getting watery. Something was going on. And now she has a lot of mental issues. She's depressed. So when I told her that, she just, like, you could see that something was lifted. And
Yes.
she texting me like, you don't know how you made me feel so much better. And do you do this for a living? Can I text you an extra question? Number to my friends. I'm like, no.
1-800 call Carmela.
I'm like, no.
Carmela's psychic hotline.
Right? And she's like, and she still now she still texts me. She says, I can't tell you how this has made me feel so much better.
You'll be fine.
Lynn, I don't know what's happening, but this is what I'm hearing, and I don't see it. I'm just hearing it, and she won't let me alone.
So
Yeah.
And I was just silent, like, is this weird for me to say this? But I'm just going to tell you. She's a good friend of mine, but again, I don't know, it was weird. But I made her day, and I made her feel better, so that made me feel better.
Yeah.
And she got my number. I said, no, I don't do it for a living. It just happens.
Okay, look, I don't mean to interrupt, but if you didn't notice, UNX disconnected.
Yeah, we're a little past.
We're a little past our time. We're going to continue to go a little bit longer. We'll go to another 15 minutes or so, because this is just fascinating. Elizabeth is friggin' awesome. If you guys haven't paid attention,
Can we have a round 3?
Can we have a round 3?
Come back again.
We've got dived into some great concepts. I love it.
Yeah. Guys, if you haven't noticed, every time Elizabeth is on, she connects with somebody. She connected with Carmela last time. She told me my ancestry. That is just amazing. So we will definitely have Elizabeth on for a third round, but we will go for another 10-15 minutes to continue. But unfortunately, UNX connected. I didn't announce it before they disconnected. So everybody that jumped off with UNX and didn't stay on YouTube, you're missing out.
I am a tough girl. I am. Can't break me. Oh, although I guess you can, but I cry more often now. So sad.
So
and it's beautiful, isn't it, to have that gift, right?
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there trying not to cry. I don't cry. And then I'm like, oh, forget it. And then I just go with it. That's what I was like. I just got to say it. I got to let it out. Just throw it out. And like I said, we have so many.
It tends to throw you off a little bit. So we work very close with PPIT, which is Piedmont Paranormal in North Carolina. And every now and then they'll get a private investigation and they'll send it to Audra and I, and we'll do a remote reading. And there was this one where they sent it to us, and Audra picked out the exact house. She said it's a white double wide trailer sitting on an acre of land. I was like, holy shit, you need to come in here and look at this Google map.
Yeah, I was in the other room doing dishes, and I just looked up. He's like, just come in here and look. And I'm like, is it a white trailer? And he's like, get in here now.
Well, and then what was interesting is I was getting, there's a shed out back. There's a lot of energy coming from the shed out back. And I got this name, Nick Knows. Nick Knows. I don't know what the hell that means. And I just spit stuff out, kind of like writing, but I type it in the feed, right? And come to find out, they had a meeting with the homeowners, and the neighbors 2 doors down was having an affair with the wife.
Oh God!
And they would meet in the shed out back. And the wife passed away. The guy having the affair with her committed suicide in that shed. And her son Nick found him.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no clue where this nickname was coming from. I'm like, Nick knows. The minute they did that, the lady canceled the investigation, wouldn't let him come in because it freaked her out.
Oh, shit.
Like, how do these people know all this crap before you've even come in to do an investigation?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm
because
like,
there's a field, right? It's just tapping into the quantum field that's there for all of us to tap into, and that's where we're moving to, right? We're moving in, those veils are opening, and the more of us that step into those higher levels can just tap into the information that's coming through.
Right. And all we're doing is giving them information to provide them with something as a trigger to get responses during the investigation, and come to find out it was deeper than we expected. And and what's funny is it freaked the homer out to the point where she wouldn't let them come investigate. But when they fed that information back to me, I'm like, okay, this is freaking me out.
Right.
But
You were on point that night, Chris.
Right. Yes.
I had a friend ring me from another state not long ago. Do you know anyone that can do exorcisms of houses and stuff? And I said, oh, what's going on? And he told me, and he said, there's someone in the house, and I think it's an old woman. And I said, oh, I can just check it out. So I just tuned in, and I'm like, yeah, it's an old woman, and actually she's got a massive problem with the fact that you guys aren't cleaning the house.
Pick up a vacuum once in a while, fuckers.
Turns out he had, and I didn't know, but his son and his son's girlfriend was staying, and they just never cleaned the kitchen, and I'm like, man, you got to start cleaning up.
What is it? What can we call it?
Mary Maids.
Mary Maids. Spirit version.
I don't know.
Yeah, Mary Maids.
Ghostbusters.
So Elizabeth, we've got probably another.
Ghostbusters.
We'll go for another 10 minutes, but I want to make sure that everybody understands what type of sessions that you provide your clients.
I was just going to actually say, because I know that Carmela and I have had a session together, and I was actually going to say, Carmela, are you interested in sharing your story? Because
We can.
It'll be a great way of explaining it, so that like I can get a bit intellectual with it also. It'd be nice for Carmela to share.
But I think I'm very different today than what I was then. Me personally, right? I feel as though I hate to say happier.
Very different, I can tell. Yeah.
How so? Tell us, Carmela.
I don't know if I could say pleasant. I haven't been yelling at work. I feel like I've been calmer. But yeah, when we had that session before Todd walked in, remember I said, you say it was like the bad come out, and I would see like the black fog that would go past me. I did see that. That was weird. And then, and then he walked in.
I was coming in to check. So you started the session, you were having the experiences. I know Elizabeth was walking you through some techniques and stuff like that. And I was just, it was like 30 minutes later or whatever. I didn't know how long the conversation was going to be. I was downstairs. I was like, all right, let me go check. It's quiet. So I go upstairs. Carmel's laying in the bed. She's all relaxed.
So calm. I was fine. I'm never calm.
I didn't know if she was, I thought she was out cold sleeping or something. And the next thing I know,
get out, fucker.
And do like a 180. I was like, all right, she's not done.
But I was calmer. Like I always say I can't meditate. But I can't say that I was totally under. I wasn't. But I was in a different, I was different. I was I'll say slightly under. More than what I let myself do.
Yeah. Because what I do is like when we're doing a session, I'm tapping into your field. So I'm in your space, and I always get permission and ask first, because I've had people, I think it's important to get permission. And if I remember correctly, there was quite a few entities that you'd picked up.
Yeah, that's what you said. Well, like I said, I saw that black fog leave.
Yeah. Yeah, you felt that fog leave.
Actually, and then you felt, and then after that, I was
angry prior to that.
And then
not angry, but I felt like there was more tense, more built up in me that I could just switch a flick.
Switch a flick.
You're starting to talk like Chris.
And I could be angry, and I didn't like that anger. But now I don't. I mean, I can get angry, but I think I'm calmer. What do you think?
Yes.
You be the judge.
But you,
Good answer.
Yeah, no. So from what I recall, post conversation with Elizabeth in the session was that you mentioned the whole black mist
The
or
fog.
whatever, the
Mhm.
fog going, leaving, and then you felt like a white.
It was like
kinda-
lightsabers, white
Yeah.
lightsabers that
That's
came
right.
out. The only way that I could explain it. They were like
Mhm.
six. They were just like shoom, shoom. I'm like, oh, we're in Star Wars, and there were like 6 lightsabers, and then
And it was a common kind of, and like
the good, like the
a
good,
good
is
feeling,
back.
a good sensation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, oh yeah. It was like, oh,
You know, one of the things that's really important to remember is that one of the reasons I can do what I do is that I don't define something as good or bad. And so when there is, because I vaguely remember
you
what
didn't say
I
there
was,
were bad entities. You just said
yes,
there were entities.
yes.
One
And if,
specific you said.
yeah, I vaguely remember that there was a lot of black energy coming out of your mouth or something. Like I felt, if I remember correctly, if that was you, it was like you were vomiting this energy out. And
yeah, I'm telling you, it was
it's
black fog that just kept going to the left.
yeah. And so the process of doing this sort of work is to really deeply do it properly, is not defining good or bad and going, like I know people that do this sort of work and they're like, oh, we've got to reject that negative energy out of you, and put the cross up and the whole thing, and as soon as you define that, now you've given it power. Whereas when you have just this energy and you go, this is just an energy, what does it want? What does it need? Let's send it back to where, the source that it came from. Now you're just in this neutral space, which is God consciousness, right? There's all that is would not have duality when it's in its singularity. And so when you just stay in that space now, and like, oh man, I could tell you some stories of, connecting with energies that actually come because I haven't defined them as negative.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so they're more likely to leave or just, get seen and heard and acknowledged, and then off they go, it's quite important to recognize that, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just the way it is.
Right.
So would you
it
almost
was making me feel angry. But
yeah. So that's like a part, but you think it's you, right? Like you think there's a part of you that's always angry.
Exactly.
But it was just that it was attracted to some frequency in you, because what we actually did was shifted the frequency in you that was creating that attachment.
Right.
Then as we shifted the distortion and the frequency within you, now it's got nothing to attach to anymore.
Right.
So it's got to go, because like physics, right? Everything's vibration. And so as soon as you take that distortion out, there is nowhere for it to attach onto. So it's got to go somewhere else.
Right.
And
but
we
I always say, this isn't me. This isn't me. Why am I like this? I just want to smile. I just want to laugh. But now I think I smile more and I laugh more. But I also think my face is thinner.
Yeah, I think so too. That's one of the things that I notice a lot is when I'm working with people, they start getting younger, but also very, very clear like that, because you think of when you're holding on to all of the distortions, it's a weight.
Right.
And weight become like it's a spiritual weight, but weight is still a weight, and it eventually starts becoming a physical weight.
I can tell you, I've had several people say to me, "Wow, your face looks different." Well, I also have glasses, but they just say like, "Why are you thinner? Like your smile's bigger. What's going on?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I think I lost weight in my face."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
So
there you go.
A vibrational change and you lose weight.
And I lost weight in my face.
Sign us all up.
Yes.
Botox here, right?
we can title it as the Vibration Watchers.
There you
Yes.
go. We could do that. But I can tell you since then, I've been much different.
Yeah.
But I just know that after everything's done in September, October, then I'll come back. Because then I can concentrate on me. Right now, it's like all over the place.
Right.
And that's really important, Carmela, because, and we spoke about that last time, right? Because people are looking for that quick fix.
Right.
And you can get the quick fix with what I do. However, if I'm working on you and you don't have some knowledge, wisdom, connection to your higher self, which is what my ultimate gain is to support you to not need me or anybody else. This is what's really important, is that ultimately we want to be connected to our higher self and get the wisdom from there. And so, I'm great, healers like me or energy workers or whatever you want to call us are great if we're in our integrity, right? Because we come in and we support you and you get that, shift in vibration. But if you then become reliant on me, then we've got a problem, because now you're giving your power to me and I personally won't take it.
Right.
And what I want to do is to support you so that you start getting that for yourself and shifting the vibrations that are stopping them, because eventually if we don't change that within you, something will attach again or whatever. Yeah.
No, I know that, but I know I just need to be able to concentrate on me and not have.
Yes. Yeah.
But how about the one time I woke up, I saw nothing but butterflies, and they were all so colorful, so vibrant. And I'm like, okay, normally freak out, but I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. All right, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm like, did I take something to fall asleep? Right? I said that. Did something happen?
I did not.
Hey, those weren't Montebello mushrooms.
And I just watched it.
I didn't do anything.
That's fantastic.
I don't know, I was calm and I was like, we're just going to sit back and let that happen. And I did.
Yeah.
So color, I don't know. Maybe I was thinking of Key West with the butterflies.
Maybe I was going to say, when we went to Key West, we went to the butterfly conservatory and then we ended up getting a little, butterfly. So maybe that was.
Well, nothing's a coincidence. Nothing's a coincidence. So, you went there for that symbolism to be part of the process, like you can't separate it all. Yeah,
Right.
Right.
Yep.
But I guess I have to move there.
Oh,
So-
darn.
Elizabeth, we will definitely have you back again, because this is just fantastic. I mean, we went an extra 20 minutes. That's phenomenal. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can reach out to you, where they can get in touch with you to help find their higher self.
So I'm on all socials, but mainly on Facebook. But if, to find me in a central location, you'd go to ElizabethElenor.com. And Elenor is a little bit different. It's ELENOR. So ElizabethElenor.com.
That is fantastic.
Perfect.
That is fantastic.
It's been great.
It's been great having you back
Thank
again.
you very much for joining us again.
We ran over a little last time. We went over a lot. So much UNX kicked us off. No, I'm just kidding. We continue to go live on Facebook. We continue to go live on YouTube. So your message definitely got out there, and it's fantastic. The message that you're sending is phenomenal. We're glad to have you on. We'll be glad to have you back a third time so we can talk more.
Absolutely.
Our audience absolutely adores you. I mean,
As do we.
Yes, we do.
as do we.
Thank
I mean,
you.
We must, because we don't get paid. But thank you.
Before we go, I have to tell you what happened to me at the eye doctor today. Glaucoma's questionable. Whatever.
fine. She
I gotta
doesn't
wait a
have to.
year. We'll retest. But I'm sitting there, and she was talking and she said, "Well, what do you do?" Blah blah blah. And I said, "Oh, I ghost hunt." And she went around the thing. She said, "I'm sorry, what?" Did you ghost hunt, or do you really like ghost hunt? I go, I don't know what that means, but yeah, I ghost hunt. She's like, People don't do that, but I don't have any patience that let's sit and talk a little longer. I mean, I was in that room for 20 minutes and then finally I said, can we just do the exam first? And then she's like, I'm so sorry. So we did it, whatever. She's like, I'll be back. And the assistant was there talking to me the whole entire time. And then she's like, I've got 5 more minutes. One more question. And she kept going like, tune in, watch our
Come on in.
podcast
Monday night,
on
we're on
YouTube.
tonight.
We have a great person on tonight. And I went through the whole thing. She's like, you watch it live. I go, it's all right.
It's on YouTube. You can watch the
on
replay.
YouTube. Here it is. And I had my shirt on. That's why she was asking questions. So I'm like, yeah, just watch. See? And they were all listening. The whole office was like, what did you say? They're like, do you see the man that died in this chair? I'm like, oh, I see the man. Like,
Right.
you can't just bring that on. I'm like, why?
Currently, I'm sitting here, so hopefully he's left by now.
Right?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, not today. All right, I gotta go. Thanks for talking to me. I'm blind as a bat. But we're good.
Everybody, when they
It's
pass
not
on,
like
wants to
being
go back to the
famous.
dentist, right?
Yeah, no dentist.
What was that?
Or
eye doctor.
eye doctor. Yeah, because
Eye
everybody that passes on wants to stay at the eye doctor's
Yeah,
office.
I got
Yeah,
it. Right. That. Yeah.
1,
That's right.
2, is it 3 is better?
Is it
4?
three? Like he told you, it's
Which
5.
is better? Which is better?
5.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
EZFP. What's the last one? Z.
We're off the rails now.
Now we are. Yeah.
I had to share that. I thought that was really funny.
Elizabeth, we will definitely reach out to have you back on again. You are phenomenal. Thank you for joining us from the other side of the world.
Happy birthday
Thank
again.
you.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday
thank
again.
you.
Didn't know that yesterday was Elizabeth's. Well, yeah, yesterday our day was Elizabeth's birthday. 2 days
Yesterday,
ago
2
for
days
Elizabeth.
ago, it's Elizabeth.
Yeah. So happy birthday, and thank you so much for joining us again. Guys, remember this. If you want to reach your higher power and figure out how to get your frequencies in line and get rid of get rid of those that are interrupting your frequencies.
Right. There you go.
You got to get a hold of Elizabeth.
It really works.
Most of all, you got to tune in and you got to stay haunted. All right, guys. Thanks, Elizabeth, so much.
Night.
Good night, everybody.